Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Indigenous Entrepreneurs podcast. Today we have Cleo Otero with us, and she is the owner of Cleo's Bluecorn Kitchen, and we're going to be hearing her story today. So if you want to introduce yourself, Cleo, and then we'll get started.
Okay, good morning. My name is Cleo Otero. I am from the Navajo Hopi tribes, and I am the owner operator of Cleo's Bluecorn Kitchen. I've been in business for 2019 officially. I bring, I call it, my hook is called New Foods with a Twist. It's kind of a fusion, so, and I am happy to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me, Cleo. I think just to get started, I really want to learn more about you and your journey and what led you to starting Cleo's Bluecorn Kitchen.
Mm, okay. Oh, it's a long journey. Well, so as a young girl on the reservation, I'm in my 50s now. So in growing up, I've experienced watching many community members come to my mother's house and ask her to cook. And so she technically was kind of like a big community cook, and her pots and pans were very small, so they would be the big soup pots, the big mixing bowls and stuff like that. And sometimes I would tag along, when it was time for her to go cook. And so it was always interesting because she was such an important it was such an important role, not knowing at that time that I was going to be fulfilling those you know following her footsteps. And so it's been I've inherited some of the her pots and pans, a lot of them actually. And so my mom gets to enjoy the receiving end rather than cooking. And it was real small stuff. I do pop-ups, like I would use it after I was going through a lot of hard times, and I was doing a lot of pop-ups. I've been in the food industry over 30 years. I went to the culinary school, and that's offered at when it was CNM. Now it's called. It used to be called TVI. Now it's called CNM. Anyways, that's so I went through the program there and worked in the industry for big volume service type of places, little dive bars and stuff like that. And then I just didn't want to. I don't. I just started doing pop-ups, and I was always doing the pop-ups. Sometimes we didn't have good sales because you just kind of have to really sell yourself or have your awesome repeat customers, which I relied on so much. There's like only a handful of them that would always consistently show up, and you kind of like figure, okay, well, with their contribution and their support, I'll probably make about X amount of money. And then after that, it was just kind of like really using media to get on your voice out there and your food product. And there's been times where we had like zero sales, and we have like all this product left over, and it was still good. And so we ended up taking that to the streets of Albuquerque and feeding the unsheltered folks. And some of those unsheltered folks were my relatives, my true blood relatives. And so it became a thing. It actually really became a thing where we were going out every Sunday and intentionally making that pot of stew and making that burrito. And so it really led to bigger things for us, and then in 2019, my brother asked me to do his opening for a gallery that he did, not knowing that he invited a bunch of local, or like local as in like New Mexican foodie type of people, and he was like, make sure you make it good. And it was a surprise. It was around my birthday. And so I guess in that same time, I had recently had just registered my business to like really go full-fledged. I wasn't really, thinking about, well, before that, let me take it back a little bit. Like all that homeless cooking and stuff, or not homeless, unsheltered folks, supportive. all that, it really took us on a loop because, I've lost family, real close family members to the streets, and kind of threw us for a whirlwind. And one year or a couple years, our world was upside down. Where my partner, my business partner, well, he's not a business partner, but he is the sous chef. His name is Jasper. He does all the good stuff, and he's learned all my recipes. And so it's really nice to be able to do these kind of things, take time away from the kitchen and be doing these things. But we were on the receiving end of like burritos and soup kitchens. We ended up in a homeless shelter for about a year. And it was just a really humbling experience. And even in the shelter, we were doing small caterings for like numbers of 20, 25, and it was always just soup and maybe like tamales. But I remember, I mean, just doing that, it was like, it would seem like, oh, how sad. But really, in that moment when you're sitting in the shelter making your food for people outside of the shelter, it was such a happy moment because we were focusing on just the food and how good it tastes. And plus, we were cooking good food for ourselves at the same time. And so that's a big part of our journey. Like, I was just like, I always just said, we're just gonna get out of here one day when we're gonna be okay. And so, like I said, I continue with the pop-ups, and then my brother, 2019, surprised me. He gave me business cards, a banner to support my business to continue either the pop-ups or whatever. But I caught the eye of like a few organizers, different people, and they started. And then pretty soon, just from that moment, like having that featuring my food and people raving about it, like, or not, reviewing good things, I ended up getting a few more bookings, and it just started to snowball from there. It was a really, oh wow, it's just like, I don't know. It was just the beginning of everything. So that's part of our story. And to date, we're not as readily available to do the Sunday Sunday giving back, but we do support other organizations that do that work now. And then with our business being like, we're pretty busy throughout the season, throughout all seasons. And so, we try to do our best to, always have like packages in the back. And even though we came from a really humble place, that wasn't our beginning. Our beginning was in my mom's kitchen. And sometimes you have to remind yourself as an entrepreneur that that's not who I am. You got to remember like your roots and stuff. And even the way our food is very much based at home. Like I was like, this is not what I ate when I grew up, and so I was like, well, maybe we can incorporate blue corn into our menu a little bit more. And so that's where the fusion came in, where the concept of native foods with a twist. And so we have, I like one instance for, we have an item called tam sums. It's a fusion between dim sum and tamales, and we just kind of put that together. And it's a really good thing. We haven't really expanded our menu because people like what they like. It's very simple. We don't have a set menu. I do one-on-one consultation. I don't know if a set menu is good, because I guess it would be good. The only thing is, like, I use a lot of seasonal products too as well. And so I just try to, my concept also is not to feed others what I wouldn't eat, so that's a big thing for me. And yeah, that's a little insight into how we came to now, a little bit.
That's awesome. I think that's a beautiful story. And so you started with pop-ups, and now you still do pop-ups, but you also focus on catering, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we focus on catering. We have bookings. I have my numbers on the Facebook media, on Instagram. I'm more I think I'm more consistent with the Instagram. It's hard to keep up with like all that media. Like, I sometimes forget to post pictures of what we did, and because sometimes it has us traveling. Catering has us traveling. We do a few pop-ups, but it's so much work that I want that guaranteed amount of food eaten up. I don't want it. I don't, although that's a place that I was. at where I could take my food into the streets and have people eat that. And I love that feeling of anywhere, not just there feeding our unsheltered relatives, but anywhere we go. I really like that feeling of people just being satisfied and or just being in that moment eating our food. That's just everything to us. But yeah, our catering takes us all the way to like to the mountains, and we cater for runners, and it takes us to all the way to like like meetings and like I don't know. It's just it's taken us to a lot of places, ceremonies, and the city of Albuquerque. We were able to do a 400 top or not top a 400 count catering for the people. There was an Indigenous Peoples Day that was at the convention center, and that just by the two of us, and it was just crazy. But it was like, but also in that same breath, you get to like organize with other local restaurants. Like we were just like, this is overwhelming. I think we should like for just to support one another, like we bring in like a bread maker we work with consistently because I know how that feels, and there's a single mother out there. Is it okay if I give them shout outs with their names? Is that all right?
Of
Okay.
course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the baker's from Isleta. Her name is Ruffles. She goes by Ruffles, and she does these beautiful, what she calls bumpy breads. And so we make crackers out of those. We serve them with the soups when it calls for bread. And then there's another single mother named Adriana Sandia who makes beautiful baked goods. Like I'm not a baker, so I utilize those resources that I have, and I believe in reciprocity because I just like, oh, I wish somebody would have given me that chance, and somebody did. My brother brought me to his customers. He's a jeweler. His name is JJ. His JJ Otero Art. Anyways, and so he brought me to his circle, and it just expanded. It expanded in a big way, and we're not like you know we're not like big, but we're able to. We don't have to worry about making ends meet. We're able to help others out. Like, okay, well, we're already booked that day, and we'll try to find somebody else to like. Well, if it's a small number, and I know that they could probably, or I just kind of think like, well, maybe they could handle it. So, anyways, that's a lot of things that we do now. Um, but now, and it's so funny because we ended up last year was the first year that we opened up for Cara Romero Gallery. We did, I guess it was the first time that anybody can remember that there was actual food at an art space opening. And so that was pretty nice. And so this year we are invited, and where she told me in person that we would be able to do that annually for as long as we're open and as long as they're open. So those kind of contracts have have fruition, like the ones with Wings of America. They're an Indigenous running group, and we get those annual contracts where we follow them around into the mountains. It's always in the mountains, and it's a lot of hard work, but just to hear the youth just saying like, thank you so much for nourishing me. And then like one night I was just sitting there so exhausted by the kitchen, by the dishwashing setup, and there was this little, and it's a youth camp. So you'll have like little ones from like 10 years old, I believe, is the youngest one that could be there. But out of the darkness, this little kid comes up and just gives me this hug, and I don't even know my first name basis because we're so busy. But he came in, and he just came in for this biggest hug. And said, thank you for nourishing me, and I was just like, oh, it was just those kind of moments that really, it's worth the journey. It's worth, I don't know. I love to cook. I can do it for hours. But there's times where, you know, it can get challenging still. In all aspects of entrepreneurship, small businesses, there's always challenges, but I just rise to the occasion and just put one foot instead of in front of the other, and just keep on going because well, I always tell my kids, like, who else is going to do it? I mean, like talking to self, not to them, at them. Yeah.
So, what kind of challenges or like hurdles did you run into, especially when your brother gave you that opportunity and then things just kind of started snowballing?
Oh,
Um, what challenges did you run into, and then like how did you overcome those challenges?
well, the big challenge for me was I was not on paper or maybe even like a form as like an invoice form. I didn't have an idea what it like. I've seen invoices. You see them when you purchase stuff, right? But as a business owner, I was just like, it was a cash transaction. And so that was one of the big hurdles. And even to this day, well, I'm good at invoices, I'm good at stuff like that, but taxes are a thing I don't deal with. Also, I have a person that does my taxes. So like that financial aspect was really hard. And then like if I think I do pretty good with follow up. I always well I no like I still sometimes skip a beat and like say forget to I don't send out cards, but I forget to like acknowledge the people that have um, used our services, and it's just like I'm very grateful for them. So if anybody's hearing this out there, thank you. Or when they do hear it, you know. But what else? And making like I have a family, so my youngest son is now going to be turning 10. One of the big challenges as an entrepreneur, even it was just like having long hours, and the kid is riding along with you. And just recently, it was like that. I can't remember what event we were at, but and there was another guy there who had a small business who goes, "Hang in there, little guy. Thanks for your patience." Oh, it's the one in Santa Fe I was doing consultation. And the guy said, I've been there, and you're going to be a successful person because you know you're going to know the ethics, work ethics right now as a young kid. So those kind of things are it's still challenging because you feel like, oh, I wish I could keep my kid at home and where it's comfortable, but also I think that little uncomfort level is good for them. You know, like it's not a bad uncomfortable. It's you know, it's just things that sometimes you got to get through to. At the end of the day, we had a delicious Chinese food there, and in Santa Fe we got to you know walk around and stuff. But yeah, and I think those are the biggest biggest hurdles were that, and just really, and oh, a big one was um, not having the right equipment as our business was growing, and not having that um, the monies and funds to buy the big items like a Cambro box where it which keeps your food hot up to 3 hours, and the big coffee percolator which can serve like 60 at one time, and just and then like the really fancy risers where you can just have a nicer setting during we both you know there's different venues where one is fancier than the other, and when you could damage some of your equipment, so you use the ones that's like can handle some stuff, you know, and the other one you want to shine up. And so those kind of things are challenging, just really upgrading. And but you know, other than that, you know, sometimes we're like the numbers are big, but we manage to the food part, we just do that. That doesn't challenge us too much. It's just when we, you know, what I mentioned, those are the some of the hurdles that we've had.
And as you kind of encountered some of those challenges, were there any resources or like community where you found support? Any like organizations or people who were able to help you out and navigate some of that?
Oh yeah, big shout out to New Mexico Community Capital. The staff there, they're so friendly. They're very knowledgeable. They've helped me with microloans and technical support. You know, and when you have all those tools in your belt, like what if you're lacking anything? I'm talking to myself. It's because I'm not doing the work. You know, like I like upgrading your brand and all that stuff, and just you know, they've got everything from finances to brand and logo um, making, I guess you could say. And then there's also Native Women Lead. Big, big thank you to. They've been supportive. They've also given me a loan at a low interest rate. So like, but you really have to do the work. They're just not going to give you the money. There, you've got to go through their program. They have cohorts. They're very they're very keen at what they do. That's the reason why they're them, and we're on on the other end, right, where we're entrepreneurs, but they see us and they want their intentions. They're really, really well thought out, and planned for us as entrepreneurs. And if you're willing to take that next step, and then you've got those two, and then there's a third, and there's AIBE, and they're a big one too. They welcomed us to their circle right now, and I'm in class for one of them, and just to, and it's always nice. I always try to just go, even though I'm busy, I take the challenge of like going into class again just to brush up on things, because if you're invited to something, you shouldn't, not let it go by the wayside. They see something, so sometimes like I did sign up for a different class. I just couldn't do it. I did sign up. I went to two classes and I had to drop the class because it was so not challenging, but it was just my timing wasn't good. And so like, but had I just stuck through it, I think I would have finished okay. But I just, so those things, you just got to reassert yourself when these kind of opportunities come up. Like I'm in the cohort for with AB, like I said, and then there's also just the general public, the community, the Native American community. I mean, I think from that first gallery opening with our business cards, it's that, and then it just trickled effect. Like my brother was a good reason, I guess. So when you have family members that have insight, that's a really good one. And then also, I forget the name of the jewelry company that my brother opened up for. It's on Banal. Anyways, it's another business. They also supported me and helped me. And let's see, I don't want to forget. And then there's also, I organize also with the Red Nation, and that's more of a different, more not on an entrepreneur side. It's more political movement activism. But even in my walk, they were able to support me in so many different ways. Even if it was moral support, some like today or the other day, we're able to sometimes put like overflow, because we have a small kitchen space where sometimes there's an available space over there, so we can, but they're there for that kind of support. Don't use them as much anymore, because we've grown, but also, let's see. I think those are the like, and then there's so many others. Like there's so many different orgs. I could just say so many. There's like the ones that have to help me grow. It would be the main three that I said. The business aspect of it would be New Mexico Community Capital, Native Women Lead, and AB. Those three have the structure and components for entrepreneurship. And all the other orgs that I work with, they're more moral support, like go get it kind of thing. But if anybody's looking for some support, really look that up. I always drop their names. One of those three organizations, I always drop their information as much as I can to furthering your business, because I have a nephew who does turkey legs, and he's like, I really need a smoker. Where can I get resources? And so I refer them to um, to New Mexico Community Capital, more so than Native Women Lead, right? And so I don't know. I'm just really, very, very thankful for them. And anytime I can, I try to run over there and, and still participate and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They're doing a lot of awesome work, especially for Native American entrepreneurs. They understand the nuances
Yeah.
that come with like running a Native-owned business. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely a huge shout out to them.
Yes.
Most of the entrepreneurs I've spoken with have worked with them.
Okay.
So yeah. As far as like cooking goes, do you use your own kitchen? Have you used like commercial kitchens in the city, or kind of what does that look like for your catering and your cooking?
Okay, so I still do some products in my kitchen, and but I am also licensed through another kitchen where I utilize their kitchen space, and they're called Elroy Cafe. I think you've seen them at the APE conference recently. They're the one with the fibred man. But anyways, and so they were very generous, and they've been there. They've been exactly where I've been. They have a brick and mortar now, and so what during their when their shop is closed, I get to go in there and use their oven or whatnot for big events because they really helped us with the 400 numbered event, and that's where we collaborated. And I said, "Can you make the pozole?" Because we could have made it, but it's just like they're helping us out, and that's the kind of community that we've built with Fabi, and is just a really great person. And she was like, "Yeah, we can get you licensed through here. I know how it is to struggle." And so through that licenseship, the city of Albuquerque gave me the license for a year, and I have to renew it now. And then for a fee, we came up with a fee between myself and Fabi, and so like I've not really made any more catering events for the city, but it's there if I need it. And so, and then there's other kitchens that I've looked into, but I never really cooked at. There's LCC. There's like one in the valley. There's like I can't remember what they're called, but if you Google like licensed kitchens, they'll give you like a couple of them. But I know that the one in the South Valley, I've looked at it, and they look like they really support um, food trucks. And so but the main thing is just I think just your networking, word of mouth. You just kind of like, oh, okay. So Jake was the one from New Mexico Community Capital that introduced myself and Elroy with Fabi from there, and that's how we made the connections. And so see, there it goes again. Like I really needed this licensing, and so here comes New Mexico Community Capital making it happen for us. And but you also still had to do the footwork. It was very challenging because there's a lot of paperwork to be done and stuff. There's a lot you have to sit down with the inspector, which is kind of I hear like the worst stories, but I had a really cool one. His name is Mr. Trujillo. He was just really cool, and not cool, but he was very um human like. But yeah, we got a license to them, and then so but really, we have like a kitchen that has 3 ovens, and even though we're not a baker, we that's our warming, and it's challenging. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff that we can do in ovens because, like I said, I don't bake a lot. So we do a lot of like, for instance, like we're not always in a kitchen setting. Like sometimes we're camping, so we had to build our own kitchen. Like so we have all these equipment that we take along, big pots, just kind of like it kind of reminds me of when my mom goes to big ceremonies. She takes her big pots, and hopefully they provide the fire for you. If not, you take your Coleman stove, and I have a 3-top Coleman stove. It's the huge industrial one, and thank you to John Brown Breakfast Club for donating that to us. And so that was part of our journey too, because during COVID we were doing a lot of um, outreach work, feeding our unsheltered relatives out there.
Well, I love that. Just the examples of, so here at UNM Rainforest Innovations, one of our big things is, creating that entrepreneurial ecosystem, where people are just working together, collaborating, in a very like serendipitous way. And so I love to see those examples of like Jake introducing you to Elroy, and then now you guys have a friendship and a partnership. I think that's really beautiful, and just the type of entrepreneurial community that us, along with like a lot of other organizations, are hoping to help create and nurture here in New Mexico. So I love that story and that example. I'm wondering if you would be able to share with me some of your goals that you have for your business? Like, are you happy where you're at? Do you want to grow? Like, where would you like to see yourself in like 2 years from now?
Well, there's always goals. It seems like it never ends. It never ends because you always want to better yourself. I believe in that concept because if I didn't have any goals, we wouldn't have gotten out of that situation into from the shelter, or we would have still been doing pop-ups, like you always sit there at the end of the day when you're tired and like reflecting on what needs to be done, what needs to be addressed. And so those are always a daily reflection kind of thing for me. And so one of the main things that we were have on our radar is to have uh, not a food truck, but if that happens, okay, great. But mostly like a van, a legit catering van where it has shelves, and so it's a little bit easier to transport food. Right now we have a smaller SUV, and it works wonders. We love it. We love it. We put a lot of care into it. But those are the things, and then actually just being really, really more sound in like, mm, in the financial situation, like the taxes and the just really getting on top of bookkeeping. It's very important, especially when you get really busy, and it just got out of hand. Like I had 2 years full of tax receipts for it, just sitting here in this office space that I'm sitting in, and it just accumulated. It was very overwhelming, and those are the things that make you not sleep. And so to be on top of that is a little bit better now. It's being taken care of, like I finally, and just really being accountable to my clients and to my food and how I present it. And those are like always a daily goal, but in the long run, just really getting a better like van is what we're wanting to go to do. We have a small seed, but I'm really like, well, I'm focused on paying off this big loan. This is the biggest loan that I've had in an amount of $10,000. It's not a big loan, big loan, but once I get that paid off, I mean, my credit score is just going up one by one. But by the time I pay that off, I think I'll be able to get a brand new van, under my own credit score and under my own bank. And that I never had that when I first opened up my business. I was in the orange or the whatever color it was. I wasn't even nowhere anywhere near green. And so just really like I didn't know how important that was. Now I know like, oh, I know they'll because they're offering me the bank is offering me loans to get on your next vehicle or your mortgage, like, and it's something, it's amazing, like, to I don't know if like when you I don't know how it's just amazing, like you feel like you broke something open and you're like, oh, there's a whole new world over here. You mean I don't have to struggle? Like, like it just, for example, like buying school supplies. When it was just my daughter and I used to go to every social event and just try to get everything for free because it was so challenging. We just making, I was going to culinary arts school at the time and not knowing that I could be, and now my son, I was telling my daughter, like, oh, there's an event where they're giving out free. And she was like, no, they're okay. I got them. And so, and like she went through my whole entire family, like my nuclear family, like my grandson, my daughter, my son, and my partner. We were the ones that went through all that. I mean, I'm sure my other family members felt it, like what the struggles were, but like my main goal is always on a daily basis never to return to that space. Because, and then somebody told me once, to say, you're never going to return to that because you're driven, like, yeah, you can have a drive, but then you also, you can be driven so much, but you have to do the work. You actually have to do the work. So that's a daily goal of getting up, making myself accountable for myself, and doing some kind of something like productive on a daily basis. That's always number one, whether it's business, whether it's within family, and so like being able to give back, like that's always on our goal on our radar too. Like, reciprocity is a big thing for us. Like what you're saying, there's a this Native American entrepreneurship. Like we were so overseen, and we were given pennies to the dollar on some of our stuff, and now our value is like, no, we're. And sometimes I still do that. Like I really try to what's my worth? What's this worth? How much investment do we have in this? How much time have we put into this to some, and some people really see it for what it is. They'll say, no, we're going to pay you X amount instead of what your rate is. And so I guess when you see it that way, cut and clear, when somebody else, your customer, is telling you, no, you deserve this much. And I guess that's a daily goal to always count your self-worth and your business worth, because don't cut yourself short, because we did that for a long time and it was so hard to make ends meet. And so my brother's a big one on that. Like people say, oh, his jewelry's so expensive. I hear that all the time. But at the same time, he's like, I put in a lot of work. I inhale the fumes. Like sometimes, they say I shouldn't be like the first thing you say, but sometimes like in entrepreneurship, it is like, but if you have a partner, it's a we thing, right? And so just taking better care of my business. Our equipment, we're okay with it. Our food is consistent. So it's really, I guess those kind of short-term goals would be just to get a vehicle, and then like in 10 years, I see myself getting a home of my own. By then I should be retiring. And so, you know,
That's awesome. I think it's incredible, like your story, how you really started, in a tough spot and you've grown so much, which I think is very inspirational. And it shows that it doesn't matter like what your situation is or where you're coming from, you can do something and create something amazing. So I think before I ask my final question, I think the next question I want to ask is, um, what is a piece of advice that you would give to someone who maybe has an idea, but they don't know where to get started, or they're in a tough spot, but they have this talent or this dream? Um, what's a piece of advice would you give that person?
well, first of all, I say just go out and do it. It sounds so cliche, but it's not. Like you really have to do it. If you have that talent, that dream, we're told that at a young age, like, what are your dreams? What are your goals? They start asking you that at a young age, and it just sounds like a question, but really it's something like a life skill. Attain those, and when you have somebody give you resources, follow up. That's a big thing. Like, for whatever your obstacles are, try to get those out of the way. Like don't let it stop you. Like if it's like for instance, there's a time when I used to overindulge in alcohol, and that's one of the things I would not let go of. And like if somebody's offering you something and with conditions, I think that you should listen. Like because one of the things that kept me from my brother's circle of customers and friends and community was my drinking. And he was like, I wish I'm not supportive, but I would love to introduce you to so many folks, but it has to be in a sober state of mind. And so that's one of the things I didn't really talk about, and how that fruition. And then I had like a year sobriety, and then it happened. He took me to that gallery. So like if there's things that are like taking those obstacles out of the way, whatever it is, like if it's, I don't know, it could be so many things for different people, like, but just try to work through that to get to where you need to go, like it's almost like a trail. Like sometimes you have to throw debris out of the way, sometimes you have to get the sticks out of the way, sometimes you'll fall and get hurt, but you get back up and you go, because you're not going to just sleep there. You got to keep going. You got to keep going to where your destination is. And I'm not done with our destination. We still have obstacles and stuff. There's days where we don't want to work, and it's just like, ugh, like, but it's like it's something that we've built on. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into. We're not going to stop now. We're just going to keep doing. It's very even now. It's comfortable, but you always just know that in the blink of an eye, it could just be like no more customers or something like that. I doubt that'll happen really anytime soon, but just being able to get through it every day, get through your day and try to work, chisel at it a little bit at a time, like whatever your goal is, your dream is with your entrepreneurship. Like, for instance, I'll give you another example. Like, my partner Jasper is a great artist, and he had like some trauma along with the last bit of art that he did, which was about like 6 years ago, and he has not painted since. And I'm like, and I said, well, I think you should. I mean, I have potential to expand and grow with this. I mean, people would buy this, and he's just like, he never says anything. He just like, well, I said, are you traumatized by something, by these paintings? And he's just like, no, but I don't think he like, we do. I don't pester too much. And so, anyways, recently when we were at the ABE conference, I was like reading the different breakout sessions that were there available, and what a couple of them had to do with art. And I said, this is the time. And I said, well, this is the time to get your name out there. I think you should take these classes. I think you need to go. Don't come with me. I'll get the information about restaurateuring and the freeze drying, all that stuff. I said, I can handle that. I said, I think you really need to listen to different platforms about your art, because we're not going to be able to. I said, because, there's well, anyways, but that's what I told him. And so he did, and he got on the radar. He registered his business, Nutby Creations, I think it was, or Nutby Designs. And so he'll be like, we're gonna get him an office space, and he's gonna go through that program and try to get like whatever it is that he needs, or he thinks that the support that he needs to continue. He's ready to paint again, so I'm very happy for him. He does canvas painting, and so just those kind of things. Like, if somebody cares enough to help you, direct you, like, take that time to maybe listen. Like, sometimes it doesn't like sound like it's the right thing, because at the time I was like, oh, he's just being bougie, he's just being all, somehow with his, because I would like, can you he would I would ask him, can you repost on your, when I did pop-ups, and he was like, I will repost, but there's more than just reposting that I can help you with. But it's, you need there were certain conditions, and sometimes you have to meet those conditions just to go forward with your business. And so, and now his circle still knows me. They still call on us here and there. Like this, the gig in Santa Fe, one of them is from him, but mostly, but when those doors are open, just, really get in there and do your best to keep those doors open, or go further down the hallway and open another one, just kind of like the trail concept. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that answer. And thank you for your story. I think it's a really beautiful one. And I just appreciate your time and your openness in sharing your story with us. And
Yeah.
the last question that I'm going to ask is, if people listening or watching want to book you for catering services, where can they find you?
Okay, so you can email me at cleosbluecornkitchen@gmail.com. That's the fastest direct way, or you can call me at 505-453-1083. And if you want to see some pictures or past events that we've done, you can go on Instagram or Facebook and under Cleo's Bluecorn Kitchen as well, and check those out. But you're not going to find a menu. I think I'm going to end up eventually doing a menu, but I really like to do the one-on-one consultation, because it lets me get to know my customers, and sometimes the conversation goes into other areas where we get to know each other a little bit more. So, and then it just like, it really, that makes me like, okay, well, they probably need this, or they probably need this versus this, like, because we offered a couple different soups and stuff like that, and we comfort foods, like, kind of deal. And so, but anyways, that's where you can find my information. I don't know if I'm going to do a website. Maybe I should. I've been wanting to do like aprons and stuff for a long time, but I just haven't really been on top of my game with updating my symbol or whatever it's called, icon. Yeah, now I'm just babbling.
Well, like you said, one step at a time. You'll get to
Yes,
those other things too.
yes,
Well,
that's true.
thank you. Thank you so much. I've
Yes,
really
Cecilia.
appreciated this time with you.
Thank you, Cecilia. And oh yeah, and then a shout out to Rainforest. I watch you guys, and I've been interested in collaborating or getting more in with your program. And thank you for inviting me to speak. And this is your part of the support too. And when you see the entrepreneurs out there doing things and wanting to being quizzical to us and trying to get us out there. I just really appreciate you all too. So that's part of the network too. It's not, I forgot to mention that earlier because I did, what was her name? Miss Lee?
My Tega, yeah.
My team, Lee, yeah.
Hmm.
I've got to do a little bit of like, just mostly talking, but I know that the resources are there and that's what I mean. Use your resources, like this, if I had done it, maybe this would have fruition earlier, but it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
well, that's part of our concept is we want to work collaboratively with like NMCC, AIBE, all the different resource providers. And so what we mostly do is connection to those resources as well.
Oh
So
yeah. They're
um
good.
but
They're very good. I appreciate them so much.
yeah,
NMCC,
definitely.
Native Women Lead, and AIBE. They're just three of the biggest supporters in New Mexico that I know of for the Indigenous led entrepreneurship. I just can't say enough.